Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 33. I'm your host, Joe Baress, and we are once again joined by my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, how we doing?
Joe, I'm doing well. Did you miss me last week?
I did, of course.
Well, I know the veteran Scotty Walsh filled in admirably. I listened in to the rebroadcast.
Absolutely. No, he did great. He was happy to fill in. So,
Joe, I had a very busy week last week.
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So, unfortunately, I couldn't squeeze you in as I try to do every week for this award-winning podcast.
That's right. That's right.
I'll apologize to all your listeners who probably didn't miss me at all.
Yeah, I got a lot of texts that just said, keep Scott on it. No, I'm
There you
just
go.
completely kidding. But, you know, it's interesting, Joby, because we are joined by obviously our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Weston Yannone of Dunmore Track and Field. And, you know, he's one of our first guests on this podcast. So it's a year and a half later, a lot has changed. But Weston, how we doing, man?
It's going good.
Good. Just to tell people what Weston did last week, he ran the 110-meter hurdles in a time of 14.24 seconds to tie the Lackawanna Track Conference record set in 1988 by Joby Fawcett. This is going to be a great episode. I love this. He also added wins in the 100 in 11.1 seconds and the 300 hurdles, and ran the ankle leg of the 1600-meter relay, leading the Bucks to an 87-63 win over Mid-Valley in a Division III boys track and field meet. And that ended Mid-Valley's 32 meet win streak. So, you know, just to start off, I kind of love this. I listened back to the podcast, which was podcast number 3 that we had with you, Weston, and Joby got a spam call during it, so he just cut out completely. You were at Susquehanna beating Dunmore. That's why you got the Athlete of the Week that week. You know, we talked about the Giants. You said they needed to get rid of Daniel Jones, and they did 2 months later. Now he had a resurgence with the Colts, and then of course got injured. But I hope we've tightened it up a bit for this episode. But just to start off, Weston, what has the transition from Susquehanna to Dunmore been like? Obviously, yesterday, you know, when we spoke, you obviously spoke highly of both communities, but you know, what was it like this year? Obviously, you're very ingratiated into the sports and into the community now, but what was that transition like for you in the beginning?
It was super nerve-wracking making a move from Susquehanna County to the valley down here, not knowing how the people were going to be, because Susquehanna is like its own little place off the highway, about 15 minutes. And moving down here is like moving to the city for a lot of kids from Susquehanna. And I feel like I really clicked with a lot of people down here. And the football team, being on the football team helped a lot, obviously. It's like a big culture down here. I mean, they preach 9 square miles because it's a one big family. I really couldn't be more thankful for how great the people have acted towards me and my family. And I think me and my family are really happy we made the move we did.
So, Weston, listen, I have to offer the big congratulations, and we talked a little bit about this at the meet when you ran that fantastic time. And as Joe so eloquently pointed out, and he will probably remind everyone again at some point, that you tied what is perceived to be the Lackawanna Track Conference record for the event, which I share now with you. And, you know, what I thought is even more unique about the fact that you ran that fantastic time is that now you hold the school record for that event at Susquehanna and at Dunmore. And the only reason I bring that up is that you set the Susquehanna record last spring, then transferred to Dunmore and were unable to run in the postseason last year for track. So you've really had a lot of motivation for this spring sports season. Kind of tell me a little bit about that, about how pumped up you've been to be a part of the Dunmore track program this spring.
Yeah, I mean, last year I had a rough year with spring sports. I tore my knee, my PCL, back in January, the end of January. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to run track. And I couldn't sprint. So I decided to get into hurdles because my knee wouldn't let me sprint. And I wasn't allowed to use blocks. And the first 110 hurdle race I ran at Susquehanna, I set the record. My first ever time doing the hurdles. And when my family decided to move, I was obviously bummed out because I was going to be able to compete with some of the top hurdlers in the area. But I decided to trust the process. And leading up to this year, I worked all winter. I didn't have a winter sport this year, so I was able to put a lot of extra work in. And I feel like all the work I did in the winter is really showing and how much time I dropped over the past year.
Absolutely. Weston, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of hurdling in your family that you actually did not hurdle until last year. What's the impact been like? You talked about your cousin Skylar Wilson yesterday, but obviously when you grew in the sport, how did you get started in track and field, and what's the impact been like of your family during your not only your track and field journey, but your sports journey?
Their impact's been amazing. I mean, I remember I was always a faster kid growing up, and I remember I did a 5th and 6th grade track meet in Western Wayne one summer with a couple of my buddies, and that kind of spiked my track interest. And I remember in 7th grade, my mom really pushed for me to do track, and because I was huge into baseball my whole life, so I was doing tons of travel ball my whole life, and my mom started to push me to start focusing on track a little more. And eventually it turned into me picking track over baseball eventually. But my mom always pushed for me to do hurdles because she did hurdles, and Skyla and my Aunt Teresa. And when they decided I was doing hurdles last year, they were all super stoked. And when I got the record, they were more excited to see my potential in the 110 hurdles. To this day, I mean, after every practice, my cousin Skyla is getting a video of me hurdling on what I can improve and how I can get this time below 14. And I call her and everything, and it's been huge. And I couldn't do it without them.
So Weston, the 110-meter hurdles obviously have been very close to my heart. It is. I had the similar discussion with your Aunt Teresa when she ran, because she was such an accomplished athlete. I was coaching at the time when she was competing. I covered Skyla Wilson during her time at Susquehanna, and just an incredible athlete who went on to the Olympic trials, for crying out loud. So she's fantastic. But the event itself is an extremely challenging one for high school kids, especially young athletes who are just kind of learning the techniques. It really incorporates a lot of athleticism and speed and rhythm. Kind of tell me how you picked up on all of those things, the 3 steps in between the hurdles, the accelerations, the lead leg, all the things, the components that make a great 110-meter hurdler.
I remember thinking about my freshman year, I was in practice and I saw people hurdling, and it looked like I could do the technique without any practice. And I went over 2 hurdles and actually 3-stepped my first time ever going over hurdles. And hurdles, I feel like, just came the most naturally to me than out of every other sport I've done. And ever since then, it was just putting in the work to get it better and better and better. My form's obviously changed a lot. The faster you get, the more your form's going to change, and you got to fix your arms constantly. And I had problems with my arms the first couple meets, and try to continue PRing.
Yes, please PR again in the 110 hurdles so that Joby no longer shares the record with you. So, it's really interesting, Weston, because yesterday you said, and obviously it's kind of it's unique to, in running sports and everything, that you keep striving to PR and PR and PR. Take us through kind of like, you have such a big week, and obviously Dunmore's had a few big weeks. How do you continue to grow individually and as a team during this season, knowing that, sooner than you know it, you'll be in the postseason?
So we continue to just go meet by meet, stay focused on the meet ahead of us, not the meets that are coming, stay healthy, try to keep putting that work in, trying to keep our endurance up so that when the end of the season comes, events you don't get as tired after. I think what helps a lot is we have a lot of non-combo meets, so it's just varsity only, and it's a lot of back-to-back. And I think me going back-to-back with the 110s and the 100 shows like how much our coach is, one, trying to help the team, and two, trying to keep my endurance up.
So, Weston, in addition to you running that great time in the hurdles, you, like me, I also ran the hurdles and the 100 back-to-back, which is not an easy assignment when you get at the higher levels, when you go to districts and states. So you got to prepare for that. But you've delved into the 300 hurdles, which is an event I did not do. So kind of tell me about how that event is starting to evolve for you, because generally the hurdles, the 110s and the 100 work for each other to combine and get yourself stronger and better at both of those events. Tell me about the 300 hurdles, how you've seen improvement there.
The 300 hurdles, I've seen a lot of improvement by working on my steps a lot more. Because when you stutter or if you go over with the wrong leg, that's a second or two at least on your time. We work on hurdle drills and practice for the 300s because I think the 300s is the weakest part of my game as of now. And putting in the work for them has been the biggest thing in practice, keeping my endurance up. And for 300 hurdles also helps for the 4x4 and preparing me for that race.
Absolutely. Weston, what is practice and training like for you, based on the teammates you have? I imagine that, it's probably great to have such a talented team to be able to push you, and you're able to push each other. What's training like been for, being a part of this team?
It's a great feeling to look around at practice and see so much talent on one small school in Pennsylvania. And you look at all these guys that are at practice and they keep pushing themselves to get better, because obviously postseason is the goal this year, and on to the state meet. And you look around and see so many guys that are ready to place at the state meet. And you could look at any guy and say the 4x1. You can look at any of the guys on our 4x1 and say, okay, I want him with the baton if the meet's on the line. Or the 4x4, I want him with the baton with the meat on the line, because they're going to compete and do anything to win.
So, Weston, this group of guys at Dunmore, it's always a big help, obviously, when you're doing well as a team in a sport like track and field, which is certainly based upon individual performances. But this group, many of your teammates are also your teammates on football. And I noticed that you and your group of underclassmen, juniors there at Dunmore, and some seniors who obviously were a big part of it last year as well, you guys are really putting a lot of time in the weight room. I know football is a priority at Dunmore, but boy, it's really paying dividends for you and your teammates on the track. Do you guys agree with that? And do you see the same results coming from all the hard work you're putting in the weight room?
Yeah. The weight room this winter was huge for our football team. We had a lot of people getting stronger, bigger, faster. Still, like, I have a 5 a.m. lift tomorrow before school, and then I got track practice after school, and the whole team will be there in the morning. We have morning lifts 3 days a week right now, and you're going to see the whole team there every single morning, no matter what. And I think that just shows the dedication of this Dunmore team.
My God, 5 a.m. Joby, I go to bed at 5 a.m.
Joe, you have a 5 a.m. lift. It just happens with your head off the pillow.
Exactly. Exactly. Weston, let's stick with football. You guys had a good season. I thought you really grew as a team. You ran into a tough Lakeland team, but I thought you really grew as a team, and you got a lot of coming back next year. What did you think of the football season?
I think the football season went great. I mean, it showed what we have to learn and what we need to get better on to be. I mean, this is a year for us.
Yeah,
It's win or go home for most of the kids on the team. So I think this is going to be the year where you see a lot of old Dunmore football come out, hopefully, and some smash mouth football gets played.
Weston, let's go back to track now because obviously I love this sport more than anything, and I really have enjoyed watching you run the last couple of meets and of course doing the events that you do. I know we don't ever, as a track athlete, you never want to get too far ahead of yourself, but kind of tell me about how you're gauging things as you move forward after the big win over Mid Valley, because that was a very important victory for your team. And so now things kind of shift around a little bit as the season progresses. So how are you gauging yourself right now with workouts and your approach to the meets coming up?
I think our team's just starting to dial in the more and more we get into the season. A lot of these kids, you'll see they're eating clean. They're not eating any junk food, trying to keep their bodies in shape and fuel their bodies the right way. And I think this team's just super dedicated to this season, and they see the potential we have. And I think we're ready to go for a lot of great things this year.
absolutely. Joby, you got anything else track wise before I want to ask him about the Giants again, because he was like Nostradamus last year.
Well, he's really into sports. Listen, so Weston, you mentioned your Aunt Teresa and your mom was a terrific athlete in her own right there. Your dad also was an all-star football player, don't forget. I want to always make sure I remind people of that. I covered your dad when he played at Susquehanna. I think he remembers that. But so when Teresa ran, she was obviously a very unique athlete. She probably is one of the one or two best female athletes we've ever had here in track and field in Northeast Pennsylvania. And now that you're kind of getting into it, right? You're starting to hear some names being tossed around of where you are all time in the history of the sport. And so how much have you kind of talked to her a little bit about that? Because she had a lot to deal with back then when she was chasing records and setting the bar very high. There was a lot of pressure on her as people became more familiar with her.
She's given me a lot of advice. The biggest piece, though, it's probably just say stay in your own race. I mean, all these records are great and everything, but you gotta focus on getting yourself better and not being better for everyone else. You should want to keep PRing and keep doing you, but you shouldn't be worrying about all these records you're breaking because they'll come along as you keep PRing.
Yeah, that's great advice. She again, I was through it with her, and it was very difficult for her at times. She'd have a meet where she didn't set any records, and people would be like, "Oh boy, I wonder if there's something wrong." Or track's a tough sport. You have to have good conditions, and you have to have the right competition, and you have to be at the certain point of your training. So she had to deal with a lot when she was growing up. So take her advice for sure. So listen, I want to say congratulations. I thought you guys were terrific against Mid Valley. That was not an easy meet for you and your teammates, and I thought every one of you rose to the challenge. Would you agree with that? That everybody kind of gave their best performance. I mean, Carter slowed, high jumped 6'6". He also triple jumped 40 feet. You talk about Josh Dudek. He won his events. He was over 20 feet again. He 40 feet plus in the triple jump. I mean, everybody really came to play. Is that the kind of a neat feeling for you as a member of this track and field team?
Yeah, it's great. Everyone comes together when the competition gets greater, and I think that really shows what Dunmore's all about this year is we're going to come together as a team and prove that we can all give great performances when we're under a lot of pressure like a meet like that.
Absolutely. Weston, and yeah, the last thing for me, it's going to be, obviously you said you're a Yankee fan, and I feel like Yankees are kind of same story, different season. Very good team, but they just can't get over the hump because they run into the same issues. They need to hit home runs, or they're just not going to win. But again, I found it very funny that you kind of predicted the Giants season a year ago. Daniel Jones ends up getting cut. They go 3-14. but I think there's a lot of reason for optimism as long as, Scadaboo comes back healthy. You got Jackson Dart there. What do you think of the Giants at this point?
At this point, obviously, I think they have an amazing talented team. They're young. Obviously, their O-line's probably the worst part of their team. It's bad every year.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be good. I really love Jackson Dart, though. He's a great kid.
Yeah.
Plays competitive. I mean, Cam Scadaboo, I don't even know how to explain him.
Right. True.
Kind of just got a boulder as a head.
Yeah.
But that's also a struggle in the season, and we saw that last year.
Yep.
But I think they have a lot of potential. But am I going to say I'm confident? I don't know.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, they really need to shore up that offensive line. You're absolutely right.
We say this every year that Giants look good. Yeah, until they're 3-14.
That's fair. All right. I think that's all I got. Joby, you got anything else for Weston?
I don't, but congratulations again, Weston, and I'll be following you very closely. I know you're going to break that 14-second barrier very soon. Nobody's ever done it on an FAT clock, so I hope you can do it.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, good luck, Weston. Thanks for the time, and thanks, being one of our OG guests when we had no idea what we were doing back a year and a half ago. We still don't know what we're doing, but thanks for being a part of the growth and everything, and good luck the rest of the season.
All right, thank you guys.
All right,
Joe, he's improved more than us.
Yeah, yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. Listen, that's, you obviously follow it way closer than I did, but, I didn't realize until I interviewed him for the Athlete of the Week interview. And if you want to hear more, you're listening to this, go pick up Tuesday's paper, go online, read the full interview. Weston's a great kid. And, like he said, he had a PCL injury. And so I didn't really know that he was as good at track as he was. And again, you could kind of tell me going from, not competing in hurdles, until a year ago to, finishing as fast as he did in that event is remarkable. He's just a great athlete.
Well, he's a great athlete, Joe, and that's what it takes to run 110-meter hurdles. He has it in the bloodline. I mean, it doesn't. When you're as talented as he is, it doesn't take much to go over there and say, "Listen, I can do this. I can try it." And once you get the technique down, he certainly has the speed to do it, and he's terrific. And he has, and he knows this because it is an event that you have to constantly evolve and you constantly have to improve because the fewer hurdles you hit or nick, the faster you're going to be. Okay. Right. And that's an extremely difficult thing for a high school athlete to achieve because those barriers are pretty high. And as he said, the faster you go, the faster you are on top of the hurdle, which causes you to hit them. Right.
Right.
So he's working. He's only a junior.
Right. Right.
So he's definitely going to break that 14-second barrier at some point in his career, barring anything crazy. And that'll be very monumental. And it just reminds me so much what he's doing to what his Aunt Teresa did when she was first, because nobody believed it.
Right.
Because she was running times that were just so far out of reality.
Yeah.
Really, it was for high school athletes around here.
Right.
Okay. The weather doesn't allow it, Joe. You just don't have enough time to train and do the technique work you need to do to get better. But obviously, Weston has put a lot of time in during this off season to improving his strength and his agility. And, he's going to get better. It's a repetition race. So the more often you are challenged, the better you will become.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. It was nice to see. I'm happy to share that record with him. And Joe, as I've said 1,000 times in the last week, that's the reason we set those marks, right? Yeah, we want somebody at some point in time to strive to break those records. Right. And the good thing is, every so often, and there have been others who have challenged that record. I remember C.J. Anderson from Delaware Valley, who was a medalist in the Class 3A state in the hurdles. He was a real tall, lanky kid, about 6'3", and he really had the most potential to crack that 14-second barrier. He went on to a great collegiate career, and he just fell a little bit short. It was just bad timing. Sometimes you just have to have the right weather, and he didn't get that, unfortunately. But there were some others that, and Nate Wilmot from North Pocono, I can remember very vividly. Chad Goodall from Wallenpaupack, and it is a number, 14.00, certainly for Weston to be striving for, is the PIAA state record. Okay, and so you can imagine trying to break that number. Now the 3A record's a little bit faster. I think it's 1380 something, but for him to strive for that is very commendable. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see how he improves. The big thing for everybody now, if you're a track fan, is you want to see him get on an FAT clock, because that is a more accurate measure of your time. Okay, so if he can click onto that 14.24 barrier on the FAT, then we've got something brewing. Okay,
Right.
and I'm talking on a big stage. So if he stays healthy, he keeps improving, he's really going to do some great things here this season.
Absolutely. And Joby, like, if you don't mind, obviously the track people will know, sports people will know, but Weston finished in 14 seconds flat, and then you add on the 0.24 for the FAT, like you said.
Right.
Kind of like just explain that a little bit. I mean, if you feel it should be explained, I think
it should, because people get very confused if you don't follow track and field, obviously. So a handheld clock, Joe, you are reliant on the official seeing the smoke and then stopping the clock at the correct time when a body part crosses the finish line, okay, of the finisher. And this is totally arbitrary, this number, but apparently some mathematicians have come up with the formula that in order to convert a handheld time to an FAT time, you have to add 0.24 seconds to it.
Got it.
That's the margin of error. Okay. Now, it's not 100% accurate in the dashes and the hurdles. Okay, so it's pretty close though, Joe. Because the reason I say that is, so my fastest time officially was 1391.
Okay,
and then that rounds up to 14.0, and I think Weston ran 1390 something, because it rounds to 14.0.
Oh, okay. Well, that I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to round it, and then once you do that, then you add the 0.24.
Got it.
But my official fastest time I've ever run, or I had ever run. Now I ran under 14 seconds handheld 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest time I officially ever ran was 14.27.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure 0.24 is pretty close.
Right.
So the reason I bring that up is because for a long time the state record was 14.04 by Kadri Ismail from Myers. He and I both broke the state record that year in 1988. We finished first and second. So for fans who don't understand that math, so when you say he ran 14.0 seconds, technically he ran 14.24 seconds, because you have to account for what should be an FAE clock, which you can't use in dual meets.
Right. Got it.
So that's where he stands right now. He can't get ranked in the state on that time.
Right.
Once he runs an FAT time at a meet, then he'll receive a state ranking, and he'll be up there. I mean, I think the fastest time right now in 2A in the state for the event's 14.54.
Okay. Yep.
So as long as he runs that, he's going to be right there in the hunt.
Yeah.
It's not like he's going to drop an incredible amount of. There's not going to be a huge amount of difference between his time from the meet at Mid Valley, which should be 14.24.
Right.
he may improve even on the FAT. I don't know, but
Right.
chances are you're going to lose a little bit from the 14.24 to an FAT clock too. So
Right.
he's going to hover somewhere between 14.2 and 14.3 just right now.
Right.
So by the end of the year, he could be under that. I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
I hope he is.
Exactly. He even said it yesterday, just in a, when he was kind of talking about that race, he even said, like, and I saw in your video, Joby, he's like, I nicked a couple hurdles. So there's honestly, there's honestly room for improvement. And he really did stress the constant, not just him, but the team, you're trying to, it sounds silly to say it this way, but you're trying to PR. You're constantly working to PR. And, he said it himself, even running the time that he did, there's still room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement.
Always.
especially in the hurdles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an event that requires a great deal of time, a great deal of dedication. I can't stress enough the repetitions, Joe. You have to, and he did hit a couple hurdles. There's no two ways about that. And that does tend to happen when you're moving as fast as he's moving in between them. And yeah, I just think the sky's the limit for this kid because he just does everything so well. He's Joe, I ran, 38 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so hard for me to even comprehend. Like I often tell people, people were asking me about, when I ran. And of course, that was back in 1988. And we didn't even have any rubber tracks in Northeast Pennsylvania. The first time I'd run on a synthetic surface was at Districts. That's when I ran the 13.91.
Yeah.
And then, we ran at States. So those were the only two meets I ran on a synthetic track.
Yeah.
We ran on cinders or we ran on macadam.
Yep.
And so think about where track and field has come in that time frame, the 38 years since I've run in a track meet. And to put into perspective, Joe, if you think about it, so when I ran way back when, if you took 38 years the other direction, you would be comparing somebody from 1950 to me in 1988.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's what we're doing when we're comparing Weston Yannone to me now.
Right.
In addition to me not being able to run 10 meters in 14 seconds, I have a lot less hair and a lot lighter hair.
And of course, I must put a cap on this by saying, and I'm 36, so I wasn't even alive at that point.
Think about that, Joe. That doesn't help my, Exactly. Hey, but listen, if you're able to run if you're able to do something in track and field that stood for 38 years, I think that's okay.
That's pretty impressive, right?
That's long enough. It's time for someone else to carry that banner.
Exactly.
And Weston deserves it because he works hard at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've always felt that way about records, Joby. They are there to be broken, and then you get to you get to celebrate the person before, and you're that person, Joby.
Well, a lot of people are celebrating my downfall. It's like when Hulk Hogan lost to the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. Exactly. Fortunately, in this situation, I don't think you're getting back on the track to reclaim your title.
No, that is not going to happen.
So, but hey, I mean, congratulations to Weston, and Dunmore's off to a great start. They seem to have a really talented team there, Joby.
No, they are good.
Yeah.
They are good.
Yeah. So yeah, and obviously Joby, the more records fell last week, school records, that is. I feel like in track, it feels like every day they're falling. So,
Joe, we had a great week last week.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I do want to point to from last week also, Joe, is we had some really weird weather.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was at a track meet last Monday, as you know, because I could not be on the air with you.
Right.
For the Valley View Scranton prep meet, or was it last Tuesday? It was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Joe, before the first gun went off, it was 32 degrees.
Oh my God.
I mean, nobody wants to run in 32-degree temperatures.
No.
And I was there to see Valley View sprinter Gavin Aprishko, who, by the way, also has had a great spring so far.
Yeah.
He also set a school record earlier this year in the 200 in a time of 21.54, Joe, which is the fastest time ever run in Lackawanna track conference history. And I'd want to emphasize this also, because we keep pointing out that Weston has done that as well. These are just a listing of school records. Okay. So
Yeah.
however a school interprets or how they decide to choose what is a school record and what is not is irrelevant. The school these are just a listing of the school records. Okay. My time just happened to be the fastest school record. Weston's time just happens to be the fastest school record.
Right.
This young man, Gavin Aprishko from Valley View, his 21:54, again, handheld converted to FAT, is, a few hundredths of a second faster than the great Colin Kravitz from North Pocono. Now,
Yep.
Colin Kravitz's legacy is not necessarily having the fastest time ever run on the 200, is what he did in his career.
Right.
Not in all of his events. Okay. So, but again, great job by Gavin Aprishko. Boy, was it cold. 32 degrees. And then Wednesday, it got a little bit warmer. I was at a track meet up here at Lakeland. And then Thursday, I thought the weather was just perfect for track and field, and the Dunmore kids really capitalized on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Joby, I think you were at, Monday you were out of the cross. Yeah. And we've had some, we've got a lot of talent there, Joby. That Abington Heights girls team is excellent. I know we had spoken about it. Scranton Prep boys, they're looking really good. Had a nice win over Wyoming Seminary, which I believe was the match that you were at.
Yes.
We've McKenna Toolin of Scranton Prep scored her 100th career goal. And yeah, it really seems like, obviously it's lacrosse in the area is kind of relatively new, if you will, but we really do seem to have a lot of talent here at the moment.
Joe, I will tell you right now that Scranton Prep's boys team is outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if this team is, the goal for this group is to win districts and advance deeper in the state tournament that it has ever done before. And it has reached the second round a couple of times.
Right.
At this point, anybody who's following boys lacrosse in the area knows that the three McPartland brothers are extremely talented.
Right.
We know that from football season, but they really are terrific lacrosse players. So they're kind of the spark for this team, but they have some other very good players at Scranton Prep. And this is a program that has made a steady climb to where it is right now. And I really do think that if this team is playing as well as it, or improved from where it is playing right now, it's going to be very difficult to beat Scranton Prep even in the state playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, they run into those teams from southeastern Pennsylvania, where is the lacrosse a hotbed,
right?
Okay, for the area and really the Northeast. So there could be some teams out there, but this is going to be as good a shot as we're going to have on boys lacrosse. Okay.
Yeah.
In the girls, Joe, I was very much looking forward to seeing Crestwood play Abington Heights on Saturday.
Yep.
That didn't happen, and it's been postponed to later on in the year, which I think is probably a wise thing to do.
Right.
We'd like to have the two teams playing against each other. They're the two best teams in the Willamette Valley Conference a little bit later on in the year as you get closer to the postseason. So I think, whether that was the reason they postponed it or not, I do not know. But I'll try to get to that when we get there at that point. But again, Abington Heights and Crestwood are both two girls lacrosse teams that have advanced in the state playoffs. So yeah, in the short amount of time the lacrosse has been here in Northeast Pennsylvania, the teams at the top certainly are thriving and doing quite well, even on the state level.
Absolutely. And, Abington and Crestwood, a little rivalry brewing up. I mean, you've got some crossover soccer players and lacrosse players who have, thrived in both sports. So, it's a bit of a rivalry there. So that'll be a fun when that.
So did you cover the lacrosse match last year?
I did, actually. That was crazy.
It was fierce, wasn't it? 11-10 or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Morgan Davis scored it in overtime. I think it was 12-11.
There, 12-11, yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable game. So that is definitely one to look forward to, and probably not the only time they'll be facing off this year. But we don't get ahead of ourselves here on the Film Podcast.
We're only in the second week of April, Joe. Take it easy.
Exactly. Here I am jumping ahead. But just quickly, let me get to a couple other strong performances, starting with Amelia Bell of North Pocono softball. North Pocono had a nice week, and so did Amelia. She was the winning pitcher in 3 of North Pocono's victories. She pitched 7 innings and allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, and 4 walks in a 3-2 win over Valley View. We know how potent that offense could be. She also went 1 for 3 with a double in that game. She also pitched 7 innings, allowed 7 hits, 1 run, and 1 walk, while striking out 11 in a 5-1 win over a pretty talented Wallenpaw Pack team. And she pitched 4 innings, allowed 2 hits, 2 earned runs, and 2 walks, and struck out 4 in a 16-7 win over West Scranton, adding a 3 for 5 at the plate with a double and an RBI and 2 runs. So they had a great week. So did Amelia. Peyton Grabowski, Holy Cross softball. She went 2 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBIs in a nice win, 6-5 win over Old Forge last week. She also went 1 for 4 in a 10-0 victory over Western Wayne, 2 for 3 with a double and 2 RBIs in a 15-2 win over Holy Redeemer. Nick Mills of Mid-Valley Baseball had 3 hits, including the 100th of his career, 2 RBIs in Mid-Valley's win over Lakeland, 11-5 in Lackawanna League Division II baseball action, a game where they honored the late Eddie Kaufman. And I think that's what I've got as far as some of the great performances from last week. And also, Joby, I wanted to point out the Mid-Valley beat Scranton Prep in tennis for the first time in boys tennis. So that was a nice little 3-2 win for the Spartans.
That always goes back to that old adage, like I said, is like Hogan losing to Warrior.
Right.
Scranton Prep's got a young team in tennis, but listen, that program is so well respected. Anytime you can get a big win, and Mid-Valley's under a first-year coach, Emily Morano, who's doing a terrific job there and getting the team enthused and getting them excited about playing tennis again at Mid-Valley. And that was a huge win for that program this year. And, we had a big tennis match today, Monday, Joe, as we're taping this podcast. Holy Cross edged Honesdale 3-2. And so did so by sweeping the singles matches. And I did a little preview on this matchup because, outside of Abington Heights, which is, far and away the most accomplished of the boys programs in boys tennis. And I think the strongest team that we have in the Lackawanna League this year just haven't been able to get any matches in.
Yeah.
They have to play 4 in 5 days this week. But just a great job by both those programs, Holy Cross and Honesdale. They both have had terrific seasons to this point. Holy Cross is unbeaten. Now, Holy Cross will play Abington Heights in the final regular season scheduled match. Okay, and I say that because there's going to be some makeups probably after this match is played, but right now it's scheduled to be the last regular season match in the Lackawanna League, so that should be a dandy. There should be some good matchups there, and Homestead's got a nice team.
Yeah.
They're going to be a factor in the District 2 Class 2A postseason now. Both Holy Cross and Honesdale will run into Wyoming Seminary, which is the defending District 2 Class 2A champions at some point here in the postseason. So we'll see how that plays out. But great job on the tennis courts as well going on here in the spring, Joe.
Absolutely. And Scotty, our veteran Scotty Walsh is at a barn burner softball game right now. Mid-Valley is leading Holy Cross 7-5. It's top 8. So we had some bonus
softball, Joey.
Yeah. You gotta love it. So Hey, if that game ends before the podcast, what the heck? I'll shout it out here. But yeah, I want to, obviously it feels weird, considering, especially for my wrestlers, but the basketball teams as well. Joby, we had, your boys basketball region team had already run, but on Sunday, Scott's girls all region basketball team ran. And, I don't think there's particularly any surprises here, but, Addison Kilmer was the girls basketball player of the year. I mean, she was also the 2A state player of the year, so.
Joe, if I could just interject real quick.
Please.
Addison Kilmer is, she's going to be a name that's brought up when we are ever discussing the top, let's say the top 10 female basketball players from our area at the high school level. Where she ranks all time, I don't know. But what I will say is that she certainly did the best she could to elevate the Mountain View girls basketball program at a state level. And to me, that speaks volumes about her talent and her work ethic and her determination. Joe, 4-time all-region player, 2-time state player of the year at 2 different levels, Class 1A and Class 2A. 4-time all-state. She was in the state semifinals 2 times, 2 different classifications, reached the state final, and then this year reached the state quarterfinals. Just an incredible career. And if you get a chance to look at her bio in her Player of the Year presentation in that page of the Times-Tribune, her numbers are phenomenal. And certainly it's a credit to all those girls who were terrific this year in the Lackawanna League. But Addison Kilmer has a heck of a lot to be proud of, and her legacy is going to live on for a very long time.
Absolutely. And Scotty brought this up too. Obviously you look at the numbers. I mean, when you're second in the Lackawanna League in all-time scoring and the person in front of you is Amber Jacobs, you had quite a career.
Yeah.
She would come through, and she came through in the clutch often when she needed to step up. She never, she was never small. And I think
she is 6'2", Joe.
Yeah, true. So she never came up small. She always came through in the clutch. So, I mean, there's numbers and there's that clutch factor. So congratulations to her. Definitely deserving. Cora Castellani of Valley View. She was a Class 4A second team All-State as well. Chloe Mamera, same thing. Class 4A second team All-State. Chrissy Jacquelinski from Scranton. The Clementoni sisters, Ella and Anna, for the great year that North Pocono had. Emma Coleman of Abington Heights. Amanda Dempsey of Dunmore. And the coach of the year, Bob Avila of Scranton Prep, having to replace his 5 senior starters this year and leading the team to the state semis. So congratulations to those girls. Obviously great years. And for a lot of them, we'll see them again.
Yeah, Joe, is that amazing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I looked at that and I saw a bunch of them are underclassmen, which I knew that going in. But
right.
As we're talking to Weston Yannone, I'm looking at my track stuff and I put an honor roll together every week with the top times and distances, and a lot of the kids on the lists are underclassmen.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a real, we have very good seniors, don't get me wrong, and they're going to leave their mark. There's no question about that. We've talked about that, what we had going on in the fall. But what we have moving forward is going to be really special to be a part of if God willing, we still are.
Absolutely, Joby. Absolutely. And I just want to take the time. Well, I guess depending on when you're listening to this, it will be breaking news, but it'll be in tomorrow's paper. The all-region boys wrestling team I know it feels like the season ended a month ago, and that's because it did. But but the all-region boys wrestling team is here. Wrestler of the year, Tommy Schechterly. And he's only a sophomore. Speaking of, this, I swear, I feel like putting this team together gets harder and harder every year because the talent just keeps getting better and better. And the talent was absolutely incredible this year. Like I said, Tommy Schechterly, silver medalist at states, regional champion, district champion. Great season for him. And, you're looking at, you could have had a couple other wrestlers here who could have risen to that, or at least had a case to be the wrestler of the year as well. And Nathan Schumann and Mason Whitney, they had phenomenal seasons. Nathan Schumann, 51-2 is an insane record. Bronze medalist at states, regional champ, district champ. Mason Whitney, Abington Heights, 54-7, state bronze. He's now a 3-time state medalist, bronze at regionals, and a District 2 champion. So other than that, we've got a few of the freshmen of Abington Heights, Dakota Sandy, Brady Full, and Lucas Drake making the team, and also from Abington Heights, Frank Cialpi, a senior, had a great year, great breakout year. Bryce Woodruff of Blue Ridge ends his career with his second all-region selection and second trip to states. Justin Scanlon, Honesdale, finally broke through, made it to states, had a great year. Regional 4th, district champ at Al Medina. We discussed at length Mid-Valley, great career, not only individually, but in building a program at Mid-Valley, 4-time all-region selection, 4-time state qualifier. Mark Redman, Lackawanna Trail, just had a great postseason, district champ, regional 5th. Tywin Giles really impressed me this year, 42-3 record, regional 5th, district champ. And he's a sophomore. Can't wait to see what else he's got for these next 2 seasons. Gavin Morecambe, Western Wayne, getting his first all-region selection after making it to states with a regional 4th and a district title. Gabe Caulfield, Wallen Popak, he also qualified for states, 4th at regionals, and a district title. And then you have just the brutal combination of Duke Martin, Levi Landry, and Bobby McDowell from Honesdale. Just, if you're going against that team, that's a brutal 189, 215, and 285 to go against. They all had great seasons. And Coach of the Year, Greg Taone of Abington Heights, as Abington had a really tough schedule, a really tough Division I and very difficult District 2 Class 3A duels, tournaments, and they won them both. So just very impressive there. And, it was tough to choose, honestly, between Greg Taone and Ryan Chilada of Honesdale. Both of their teams had absolutely stellar seasons. But, it gets harder and harder every year to pick these teams. But, listen, that just means the wrestling is great. And, let's absolutely celebrate that. Congratulations to the kids. And we're moving forward, Joby. Moving forward.
Absolutely, Joe. Speaking of moving forward, I don't know if you announced this yet, but apparently Mid-Valley did defeat Holy Cross 7-6 in that. Very exciting.
There we go.
Extra inning softball game, Joe.
Yes.
The veteran Scotty Walsh with the score posted on X.
Look at that. And a video. The last out, it looks like. Yeah, Joby, sometimes you pick the right game to go to, right?
And we roll those dice, Joe.
We roll the dice, exactly. So, hey, be sure to check out Scotty's story at the Times-Tribune.com/sports this evening. And yeah, we'll have busy day, Joby. Obviously, pretty much every day in the spring is busy, but yeah, be sure to go to the website, follow us on X at SportsTT, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Times-Tribune Sports, follow Joby's Facebook page. As I say here all the time, sometimes I find that easiest. If I have a day off, I just go to Joby's Facebook page to catch up on things.
Joe, when you say that, though, please, it's Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune, right?
Times-Tribune, yes.
I
Yes.
have not used my public Facebook page in quite some time.
Yes, please don't go to Joby's public Facebook page. Go to the Times-Tribune one. It specifically says Joby Fawcett, comma, the Times-Tribune. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and of course Podbean, where we record this weekly, or at least we try to. And thank you, Joby. I don't mean to sign off quickly here. Do you have anything else to say before we wrap it up here?
Joe, very busy week for us here in spring sports, as you mentioned. I just want to also kind of tag along there that the big weather permitting North Pocono Walter Godick Twilight Invitational is Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah. Now they're going to start that at 4:00 to try to get everything in, and it really is a great event. That's the first big one, and if things go according to plan, we're going to get some very fantastic performances out of that meet. That's the first big invitational around here locally in Northeast Pennsylvania as we're getting ready to get into that part of the track and field season. But in that, the reason I bring it up is I want to again congratulate Weston Yannone for being our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you to Weston, and I want to make sure people heard, because I kind of got a little too excited about the Twilight meet. Friday at 4, right, Joby?
That's correct, Joe. Friday at 4, we're going to get that started early.
Excellent.
Hopefully, so we get all those events in.
Fantastic. All right. That's it for this.